And welcome to the Raw Review. I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture, joined by Michael Sidgwick from WhatCulture, here to review everything that happened on last night's episode of Men in Raw. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review Raw, but also SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. AW Dynamite, AW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week, complete with a very good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, though, joined by Michael Sidgwick to review last night's episode of Raw. A très bien episode, in my opinion.
Not mine.
Okay.
I will tell you, there's two things I really liked on this show.
Ooh.
Two things I really liked on this goddamn show, which otherwise, right, I'm going to start kicking you in the shin, Mr. Wilbourn.
Okay.
Trying to extract a bit of criticism of WWE. At the minute, there are two things going on in WWE which harken back to really dismal days, right? The amount of phoned in formatting of, just have wrestlers argue backstage or in the ring and make an impromptu match. It's getting out of control. It feels like the overlapping narratives. Put it this way, this promotion in this state, creatively, I'm going to, embody my my co-host, my absent co-host, Michael Hamflet here, who's still in Thailand. This company in this state, with this attitude that they seem to have developed, is incapable of booking something like Jey Uso, banished from SmackDown, or doesn't want to be on SmackDown, comes to Raw, and various members of the roster who have been, have had their careers put in jeopardy by the bloodline, or they don't care that Jey Uso has left the bloodline, learned lessons from how bad the bloodline are, but Cody Rhodes backs him, That sort of picture, interconnected, where you can build so much from that quite excellent narrative platform, which, what an unbelievable bit of storytelling that was. I understand now why Hamflet was so buzzing about it, even though, yes, you had to watch a lot of Jey Uso matches as a result. But in terms of pure booking, plotting, what it did for Jey Uso's run is a semi-main event Jey Uso, really good stuff. This company, with this attitude that they seem to have cultivated is in the defining trend of 2025, it feels so bereft of effort compared to something like that. The formatting of these shows, Raw last week, SmackDown last week, Raw this week, we're talking, 9 combined impromptu matches? Mm-hmm. The booking basically is wrestlers have a somewhat convenient interaction, whether it's in the ring or backstage. The authority figure either comes out to the stage or is just around talking to one of these wrestlers who is interrupted by another ipso facto impromptu match. We are talking like 9 in the last 3 main roster TV shows. I don't know if my calculations are exact, but
there's at least 3 or 4 on SmackDown.
Indeed, so that it's close. Say 9 over 3s pretty much. We're averaging 3 a show, 2 to 3 a show at a minimum. That's pretty terrible. And this was Scott Carlson, the
I saw this, yeah.
The doyen of the written ups and downs on whatculture.com/WWE, points out that we are now 4 consecutive episodes of Raw. We have had a disqualification finish in the main event. This has happened on a weekly basis since July 7th, I think it was, or the first week of July. Unacceptable. What you're doing here is you are training your audience, which already isn't particularly invested in the in-ring action on television. You're just further cementing in their heads, I don't pay attention to this. There'll be an angle at the end of it. It's a backdrop for either a match at the PLE or a match on next week's Raw. Don't pay any attention to this. That's not going to have a very good effect on the atmosphere of these TV matches, which is already, like I've talked about, trying to coin it, the WWE hum, where very little... Like, who cares if this wrestler's got a counter for this move or if they're going to cheat to get the advantage and the momentum shift in this match, because basically until the finish happens, and more importantly nowadays, until the post-match happens, don't make any noise. So the actual experience of watching these matches is already sort of drab enough. They're making it even worse. What's happened? Like, it's scarcely believable that on January 4th, 2025, WWE Creative felt like nothing less than a well-oiled machine. And AEW, meanwhile, it was at the worst of the Death Riders. Like, they weren't even close to flattening that curve. It was just rising in terribleness. And January 5th, they seem to get this attitude about them is made grimly evident on that first Netflix show of, God, we've made it, aren't we great? God, we have made it, aren't we great? And now there's just, I don't want to say it's a contempt for the fans, even though if you listen to, is it Rosenberg, outright articulating contempt for their most, like, accurate shooters, when he was talking about, like, why they abandoned the press conferences. I don't want to say it's outright contempt, but they're taking this boom in the business that they are generating really for granted at this point. Like, the formatting of these shows is seriously phoned in at this point. Do you agree?
I think there's elements to it. I mean, obviously, there's a partial excuse for one of the impromptu matches with the Naomi injury, which I hope is not serious, because I've really enjoyed her. I hope it's
true. No,
yes.
I don't. That's the worst.
I get what you mean, though.
I mean, I hope for Naomi's sake it isn't, but I hope for the storytelling it half is, and it's minor, because that's false advertising. That's yet another thing that was, what was it? The opening, all the Rolodex of WWE trash and terrible invisible camera backstage segments. We're not there yet, thank God. Constant DQ finishes, we are there. Constant impromptu finishes, impromptu matches, we are there. If we're doing full-on false advertising, Vince McMahon might as well be shadow booking this stuff at a certain point.
Yeah, I think that it doesn't help with what's happened recently and the speculation about, like, Karrion Kross and stuff about people getting worked and what have you. I think it doesn't help when you suddenly go, Naomi's not medically cleared, but I will, yeah.
I should clarify.
But I get where you're coming from.
I'm not a big fan of her, but I really hope she isn't injured. Just to clarify that, I should clarify it.
Yeah, I think it's just the confusion around what's a legitimate injury or anything like that anymore.
But there were two things I did really enjoy here, so I'm going to be quite passionate about them, I think.
And I think, as I've said in recent weeks, I think it also depends on how you feel about The Vision. And I still really like The Vision. I've liked them since day one, basically.
I'm enjoying, I think I'm coming around to Bron Breakker's trash talk. He popped me in the opening segment.
And I may be also slightly biased because they're booking all this stuff for Clash in Paris. And there's an outside chance I might be able to go to that show if things align properly. And I'm like, a 4-way? That's like one better than a triple threat. And I was told triple threats weren't any good. And then WrestleMania came along and blew that.
How do you live your life?
Idea out of the water. Well, usually by firing out excellent tweets, which, I hyped it up a lot yesterday. I really, I made a rod for my own back there and then dropped it. And the world wasn't ready for it, to be honest.
I genuinely popped.
Thank you. If you haven't seen it, at Adam Wilbourn. If you ever wondered, what's Jey Uso's favourite cereal? Anyway, let's get into Raw. We get a big recap at the start of this show, not only of SummerSlam, but the events of last week.
Now I'm thinking about other wrestlers and what their favourite cereals might be.
I think Mark Lee Willis, I believe it was Mark, who suggested some other options, which I'll try and dig out as we go along here, for alternative wrestler cereals.
Lady Frosties.
He might have. Lady Frosties was one of them, correct.
Loch Nesquik. Bit of a 90s WCW vibe there.
This might have been a bit. We don't do bits, but it might have been a bit that we never actually made it onto the podcast. But I think it may have. Mark Lee Willis also suggesting Snap, Crackle, and Huge Pap.
Yes. Bits as cereals. Not that we do many in the way of bits. Yeah, so Loch Nesquik, Lady Frosties, Frosted Blake Christian, because that's the off-brand. They call them Frosted Flakes when it's not Kellogg's.
Do you want another one?
Yeah.
Chris Herios.
That's a stretch.
Applejack Perry. Applejacks is a thing, isn't it?
I don't know. Never heard of it.
We'll talk about Jack Perry's potential return on the Dynamite preview tomorrow.
What?
Allegedly. That's what I've heard. An all-in and all-out brand. All brand.
All right, okay. Yeah, it's all good stuff.
It is all good stuff. But
this is a cereal, and I'll give you a wrestler pun.
What do I have? Crunchy nut. I like crunchy nut.
I won't give you a wrestler.
Okay, well, we've done Rice Krispies. What are the others? Corn Flakes. We'll work through the podcast and I'll try and think of something. So we have a big recap of last week, and then they confirm, unfortunately, Naomi's out. Title match is off. But to win people over, out comes CM Punk to a huge pap in Quebec City. And he does his usual spiel and then says, you make it hard for me to stay angry. But I am angry. I should be stood here representing you as champion. But I'm not, because I've got a Seth Rollins problem.
So far.
Seth is a visionary who can't see what's right in front of his face. He's trying to be CM Punk, but he's failing miserably. Punk talked about climbing to the top of the mountain at SummerSlam, becoming the champion for the first time in 12 years in this company. But he couldn't help but feel he let the fans down because he isn't champion anymore. And if you thought he was obsessed about becoming champion before, he's even more so now, which I thought was a tiny glimpse into what are you willing to do to become champion, potentially at WrestleMania. Anyway.
He took June off in the pursuit of being champion, but
Yes. But he knew to not hate the player, to hate the game. Look, he's cashed in Money in the Bank multiple times before, but he does hate Seth Rollins. He pretended to be Punk, and he pretended to be injured, so he could cash in when the time was right. Punk promised to regain the title, and Rollins wouldn't have to pretend to be injured because Punk is going to break his legs. And then bing bong, excuse me, out comes L.A. Knight.
Yes.
It is funny. They shake hands, and
this should go without saying, by the way, if you've got any wrestler cereals, put them in the comments below.
Yes, yeah, and we'll try
or
and mention
on
them.
X.
So LA Knight's out there. Let me talk to you. He says, look, yeah, Punk, you puts him over what he did at SummerSlam. You were robbed. You deserve a rematch. Punk responds by going, yeah. But obviously, Knight had his title match against Rollins last week, and Punk couldn't help but get involved and get him disqualified.
John Muesli.
Good.
Instead of John Moxley.
Wrong place, wrong time. He hasn't got a problem with Punk, says LA Knight. He'd quite like to keep it that way. But if Punk wants Rollins, do it on your own time. You can get your rematch after I get mine. Punk fires back saying, I think the words you're looking for were, thank you, Mr. Punk, for preventing Seth Rollins from ending my career. Do you think you were going to become heavyweight champion after he stomped your head on the concrete like a coconut? So you're welcome for saving your life and saving your career. I'm a former heavyweight champion, something you cannot claim to be. When it comes to the end of the line, who gets a title shot? It's me you're looking at as the number one contender. You can get to the back of the line. Yeah. Knight fired back saying, I know you said there's levels to this game. There are, and you're not on my level. So I'm going to do you two favors, says LA Knight. I'm going to forget that happened last week. As long as you don't do it again, don't step over the line. Favor number 2, I'm going to go beat Seth Rollins, become world heavyweight champion, and then you can be my first successful title defense. Yeah.
Love that line.
Punk says, you're going to do me a favor. In the spirit of making sure there's no bad blood between us, no problems. I don't want a problem with LA Knight. I've got a Seth Rollins problem. You got a Seth Rollins problem. But I'm the best in the world. Anyway, they're going back and forth, and they are interrupted by Paul Heyman, who comes out flanked by the two Bronnies. Bron Breakker in his suit and shades, and Bronson Reed, whose Shula Fala collection has grown. He now has 2 pairs of shoes around.
You should
him.
see like CM Punks and stuff. Let's make this ridiculous.
Yes.
It's a funny thing.
There were several Punk memes that we got from last night's show. This one was where he sort of rolled his eyes and went, I wasn't dumb. But Heyman basically says bonjour and then gets berated in French by the fans before saying, I'm going to need subtitles if you're going to do that. Speaking of guttural language, LA Knight, take it from the adorable Oracle. Don't get in the favor business with CM Punk. You start trading favors with him. It'll cost you everything in your life. It'll cost you your self-respect, your position in WWE, your career, years of your life. It'll cost you your tribal chief. And Punk fires back saying, you're going to piss your pants and sit there and talk all night. Someone's getting punched in the face tonight. If you want to put my hands on both your chins or the Brons.
Loved that line.
Good line. Come on down. And Heyman says, seems like I did teach you well after all these years. That is one hell of an idea. Let's do it tonight. CM Punk and LA Knight versus the future of WrestleMania, Braun Breaker, and the owner of the Shula Fala, the tribal thief, Big Bronson Reed. And LA Knight fires back, talking about Paul Heyman's big bloated head. But whilst he's firing back and saying, you look like you just walked into Foot Locker, basically, Punk accepts. Let's do it. We accept, he says. And LA Knight sort of says, you don't talk for me, but we do accept it. You can get stomped in tonight. Yeah. And Heyman says, deal. See you later, basically. And they go to leave. Well, two of them go to leave. Braun Breaker's like, let's just do it right now. Starts taking his jacket off, storming down to the ring. He's held back. He's convinced to go back by Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman. But not before yelling at the two men in the ring. You're 47. What are you going to do? And you're 40 to LA Knight. You're a combined 100 years old. Steiner math is in full effect.
Yeah, I honestly thought this was a really strong opening segment. Yes, utterly formulaic. You have got a promo train leading to an impromptu match. Spiritually, this should sicken me.
Yes.
And it does. But in execution, now this is genuinely really good. Like, I loved the interactions between CM Punk and LA Knight. CM Punk had that classic invective back in his voice. Like, usually when it's two baby faces, but they kind of have to be dicks to each other, it's not always great. And babyface versus babyface programs or conflicts are kind of, tricky as a result. This just felt like two ultra competitive, arrogant in a good way as characters with world-class verbal delivery. We're just having a dick measuring contest. Like, this is like a really good use of proper wrestler masculine energy.
It was sort of sink or swim for LA Knight, wasn't it? It's like, can he go toe-to-toe with Punk on the mic?
And he seemed to relish a challenge.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. He seemed to really relish it. There was a glint in his eye. There was a bit where, and this is feature not a bug stuff, there was the odd, I'm talking two maximum occasions where there was like a lingering pause as if this was like sort of really well done in the fiction, but it's quite fascinating when you know that you've got two world-class speakers out there. They're professional enough to, follow the script and not do what MVP does a lot. Let each other talk. Yeah. Talk over when it's necessary and when it's agreed upon. But every now and then, I watched this really attentively. There was a point when CM Punk seemed to, I don't know what happened. He either forgot one clause in the sentence or he seemed to rush the line and then, I didn't deliver that as well as I could have. And there was sort of like this sort of awkward pause. And you could see LA Knight's eyes light up as if to say, am I kind of winning here? Really, really fascinating to watch these two talk, entertaining to watch these two talk. They kept it nice. LA Knight kept saying over and over again, I don't want a CM Punk problem. I'll solve it if I get it, but I don't really want that, And I don't think you do either. Just a really entertaining, believable, just tense enough for where we are at the story, dick measuring contest. Punk's line about Paul Heyman having more than one chin, funny. And Braun Breaker was class. Like, I still think there's been occasions where, like, they've given him a thing. They have told him, trash talk. This could be a thing that you can do. We're still in that kind of experimental phase of Braun Breaker at the minute, wherein the current incarnation of Braun Breaker ain't main eventing a WrestleMania, ... yet. So when you're in that sort of, you're on the threshold of becoming a proper somebody, this is probably the time to say, I'll do this for a couple of weeks. Take that swing. And the news, and he's been doing this trash talk deal for about a month or so now. I thought he was overdoing it for a while. This was good stuff. And I like the idea of Braun Breaker just in his dumb jock head, not caring about who's experienced or how grey in your beard can be an asset because it gives you wisdom and experience. He's just this hot-headed idiot who's like, well, you're old, dickhead. I'm young, I'm ripped, I'm in better shape. That's why I'm the best. That's where his character's head should be at. And it was just entertaining in and of itself.
He's 40 plus 47, probably over 100 or
probably
something.
Probably over 100, that, who cares?
We go next to the clubhouse. Finn Balor talking to Raquel and Roxanne, telling them to ignore the haters, maintain your focus on the women's tag titles. Dom walks in with his mysterious friend, El Grande Americano, talking strategy for the upcoming tag match. And Finn's like, well, quick word, Dom. I'm not sure about El Grande being in the old clubhouse. And Dom's like, no, don't worry. I'm just using it to kind of win him over, for helping the AAA Mega Championship match that's going down at Triple Mania.
Yeah, sorry. Forget what I said. This is invisible camera adjacent. I mean, El Grande Americano could have just, watched it back.
But maybe, maybe he doesn't understand the lingo. Maybe he's because he spoke to him in Spanish.
Spanish, obviously, yeah.
So maybe he's just like, no, there's no way to watch this show with Spanish subtitles.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's a fist bump between Finn and Dom, and he tells Raquel and Roxanne to go and have a chat with Adam Pearce, and they plug Triple Mania during the entrances for Dominic Mysterio and whoever is El Grande Americano versus AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. What are they talking about on the trip to the arena? That's what I want to know. What's AJ Styles and Dragon Lee chatting about?
Probably wondering why, I don't know. Flat Earth.
It's always flat Earth.
It's always flat Earth. I'm not a flat earther. I honestly, there are certain phrases that are just like brandished onto my brain. I'm not a flat earther. I'm just saying there's some things about it that make some sense. Earther.
I do like his travel setup.
Do you want to talk about how your feet are flat?
I do like his travel setup with the console and stuff that he's had for years. Yeah, that's very impressive. I've got a lot of respect for that.
Frick. Died. Respawn again. Got the goddamn games fixed.
So,
my impression of AJ Styles playing games.
Dragon Lee's got a problem with whoever is El Grande Americano, wiping out with a dive before the match began. And obviously AJ Styles hates Dominic Mysterio, beats him up with some elbows early on. But the babyfaces take over. They get a 2 count off a high crossbody from Dragon Lee. There's a powerbomb, a very awkward-looking powerbomb as we go to a break. When we come back, Lee hits Americano, who was in control, with a double foot stomp off the top. But Dom pulls AJ Styles off to prevent a tag. Styles, as a result, chases him around ringside and tackles him over the barricade. Styles gets the hot tag, hits Americano with a fireman's carry neck breaker. Dom has to dive in to break up the cover. A great spot with Dragon Lee monkey flipping Dominic Mysterio into a Styles clash, which looked nice. But Americano shoves Lee off the top rope. Styles hits him with a reverse DDT. Americano goes to put that steel plate in his mask, but Styles kicks him, and the plate drops into the hands of Dom, who throughout this match has been occasionally putting on this mask of his. And he pops the plate inside of his mask, and as Styles hits the ropes, Dom headbutts him, and Americano rolls up Styles for the 1-2-3.
I'm done with all of the Grande Americano stuff, and frankly, this reached the point of, it's so easy to drift away. There's no substance or detail to, I'm going to say it, the vast majority of WWE TV matches, they're all sort of worked at the same pace, with the same sort of intensity or lack thereof. And at a certain point, you just go, there's 2 minutes worth of moves happened and I was barely paying attention. This is one of those matches. There was a match on the show that was not that at all.
I did like the monkey flip into the Styles clash. That was very creative.
That was creative. Give them that.
So earlier on in the day, we see Sami Zayn wearing a local sports jersey, going to see Adam Pearce, talking about the world title match, if anything had been decided for Clash in Paris. Zayn wants in the match, and Pearce says he can't basically make any promises, but, get past Rusev, pretty decent case for you. Sheamus comes in, Pearce is like, please don't fight with Rusev across this show again. Sheamus kind of doesn't really care what he has to say, but Zayn sincerely asks him to just stay out of it, at least until the match is over. And Sheamus is like, cool, the second the match is over, though, I'm going to kick his ass. And we'll see more of that a little bit later on. Io Sky's in there with Postman Pearce as well, talking about not getting a title match this evening because Naomi's hurt. Get well soon to her, of course. And in comes Raquel and Roxanne to presumably talk about the tag titles, but then Io Sky's there feeling sorry for herself, so let's mock her. So Sky says, I've came to Quebec to fight, so let's have a bare knuckle fight then, Roxanne Perez. And luckily enough, Postman Pearce made it official.
You're joking. Not another one?
Out of control at the minute. What a phoned-in television product this is right now.
A good save, though, in terms of the personnel in the match. I always love a Roxanne Perez match. And against the Io Sky.
I was high on this.
Yeah. I was watching this and I was thinking, anyway, we'll get to it when we get to the Io Sky match, because I think she's just, I can't say a revelation, because it's not suddenly like, Has anyone else noticed that Io Sky can go in the last few months? She just never misses for me.
Nah, she's fantastic.
But then we got the Sami Zayn versus Rusev match. Like you say, I think Rusev is getting more to grips with his character as the weeks go on. Like they started with like a pose in Quebec. Sami Zayn, what you expect him, Rusev, and he did it quite early on in the match when he'd just done some cheap thing and got arguably the most heat he's actually got since returning to WWE. But yes, Zayn hits an Arabian press to the outside. Rusev cuts him off with a Uranagi. There's a bit with Rusev getting knocked off the top and Zayn hitting a tornado DDT, but Rusev comes back with that match kick to get a 2 count, blocks the exploder into the corner, and then wraps Sami Zayn up in the ropes and does the 10 beats of the Bodhrán, or I think it's 10 beats of the Bulgarian was what they called it on commentary. But Rusev soaks in the booze for far too long. Zayn recovers, and this sort of fires him up as well. He hits an exploder into the corner, and he sets up for a Helluva Kick. He's going to punch his ticket to a world title match and Clash in Paris before suddenly he's yanked out of the ring and attacked by Solo Sikoa and his MFTs. They beat him down for the DQ, so technically he wins, but not like the dramatic big victory that he was hoping for. Tala Tonga boots Sami Zayn. Officials run down to chase them off. And Sheamus appears through the crowd, attacks Rusev, chucks a security guy over the announce desk who was still there post-brawl, basically selling this. And Michael Cole couldn't have cared less about this poor bastard.
Yeah, it was such a good bump, this. I don't think he actually had to do much to facilitate it, but he's ate crap then. It looked great.
But Sheamus and Rusev brawl through the crowd. Carnage!
Yeah, carnage. What a waste of time. Honestly, I should expect so little from this company. Here's the thing, guys. Sidgwick's a bit miserable, isn't he? Not miserable or cynical enough by half. Don't believe me. Go and listen to the preview yesterday. I was excited about this match. I figured that the crowd was actually going to be into it. Rusev starting to be a little bit more, crowd, like a better grasp of interacting with a specific WWE crowd. Sami Zayn. You've got a really great strength versus guts dynamic, and then they just end it in a DQ.
I can see this is big.
Sorry.
You're joking. Not another one?
Not another disqualification. Who cares if this is getting good? It didn't matter.
I like this sort of big picture stuff. I talked to Andy about this on the news. Because I like the MFTs. I like Solo Sikoa and his faces. I think he's an entertaining guy. I think it's been far better since they pivoted from hard guy Solo Sikoa to banter Solo Sikoa and his gaggle.
As we all know, that is the trajectory that Aleister Black is on.
Oh, yeah, he's on the way. He's definitely on the way.
So just as an example, you keep talking, I'll give you an example of what we're talking about with Aleister Black.
So I like those guys in the MFTs, even though they are... kind of a lot of them are just, we're a bit crap, but collectively we can do stuff. I like the way it connected all together of okay, well, you're going to be a surprise opponent for me in Montreal and ruin my big night of boasting post-SummerSlam sort of thing. Well, I'm going to ruin your chances of getting a world title match. And it's all figuring in, one would assume, to maybe Sami Zayn even winning the Rumble and hopefully going on to win the world title finally at WrestleMania. And you've also got the aspect of the whole Solo... bloodline adjacent, Jacob Fatu and Jimmy Uso. So there could be a point where you get Jimmy, Jacob, Sami, Jay even facing off against this, new bloodline or whatever we're calling them. Sorry, Alistair, I've been rambling.
No, sorry, I'm just saying that, it seems to be the case that WWE will push a big, bad guy they don't get over, then they just say, just be funny. I'm not really getting over. I am a bad guy. Some might say I'm the devil. So I'm going to start doing some jokes here. These jokes that I've just Googled suck. So, bear with me. Bear with me now.
Did you see, I think, was it Fraser Cranium who suggested something?
Well, maybe you can help me out here.
Death Comedy Jam, he suggested to us.
Yeah, I like it.
Very good stuff. Aleister Black. Aleister explains it all. He tells the joke and then he explains it because, this man talks in riddles and it is hard to decipher sometimes what he means by a certain punchline. By the way, if you're...
So I got it's more of a question, not a joke.
Okay.
is butt cheeks all one word, or should I spread them apart?
Do you mean the words or the actual?
No, that's both, though.
Oh,
That's
see.
why the humor comes in, you see. I spread them apart, and then I kick your ass at the same time. I wrestle, and I make jokes. What's long, hard, and full of semen?
Submarine.
No, it's my fat cock, of course. No, it was a submarine. Good guess. I didn't want to sell it because that's what I'm all about.
Also, the sock under your bed is the other option.
Indeed. Different options, different punchlines.
Different niche. After the break,
It's my fat cock, of course.
Solo and his gang are kicked out the arena. Adam Pearce is losing it. He's yelling at the SmackDown GM. Can't remember what his name is.
Nick Aldis.
Thank you, on the phone. And a referee comes in to say, don't worry, we've separated Sheamus and Rusev. And he just screams, go make sure! Because they, of course, brawled throughout the show last week, which spilled into, was it Lash and Nia doing the exact same thing on NXT? Copying each other's homework, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
Good stuff. The New Day and Grayson Waller appear. They're not happy about Penta and what he did to Xavier Woods' unbelievable hat last week.
Oh, my God, the hat.
The hat was incredible. Did you see the hat this week? He's gone from the biggest hat in the world to a tiny
No,
little...
I didn't notice.
Yeah, he did a bit in there. I'm annoyed the way that they've been booked anyway. We've talked enough on these podcasts about one of the greatest heel turns in recent memory, and then they did nothing. Apart from they won the tag titles at WrestleMania, which
they're meaningless.
Yeah, it sounds dismissive to say they did nothing, but they had such a good thing to build on, and then you just beating the War Raiders, which is fine, but
No, it's not good enough.
Not good
But
enough.
now that they've pivoted into a broad comedy direction, actually, they did that all along, which was the problem.
it was Kiss My Hand thing last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, kiss my hair, Michael. Now that I've learned to love with it, I actually half love this.
Yeah.
It entertains me no end.
We will get Xavier Woods versus Penta next week, which should be a
That
laugh.
should be decent.
I like that.
Decent gravy.
Yeah, so Xavier had a little hat in all of that. And then we get a nice video package for Bronson Reed. He talks about Roman Reigns and said he's going to keep adding to his shoe collection until Roman acknowledges him as the tribal thief.
His outward here is Tsunami. That's your finisher. You made me think of something else.
Asuka and Kairi Sane are there as Io Sky walks to the ring to face Roxanne Perez. And obviously with their history together, they offer to be in her corner. But she says, I've beaten Perez before. I'm fine. They embrace. There's a little moment between her and Asuka, which will be followed up following this match, which, as we mentioned,
Oh my God.
Io Sky versus Roxanne Perez. Not what they'd planned, obviously, for this Raw, but my God.
I know what they told you was happening. If
Yeah.
there's no injury to Naomi, they deserve a lot of criticism.
But yeah, if it is the case that there was a minor, I hope it is very minor injury to Naomi or whatever. What a make good this was. They worked brilliantly together here. Early on, Sky flips away from Perez, hits a drop kick to the floor, and she dives onto both of them, but Raquel's there to kind of take the brunt of it, and Perez is straight back up to send Io Sky into the steps to take us to a break. I love Roxanne Perez's second rope moonsault, the hop to the hop.
Yeah.
She's just brilliant at that. But eventually after that, Sky makes her comeback following the break, strikes, drop kicks, Insaguri, missile drop kick, the bullet train in the corner for a near fall. But Perez knocks Sky off the top rope, hits a Hurricane Rana, and she hits that awesome knee drop that made a real sound when she hit that. Goes for Pop Rocks, brilliantly countered by Io Sky. She lands on her feet and hits a basement drop kick. Raquel gets involved to distract the referee so Perez can rake the eyes and hit a Shining Wizard for 2. She puts Sky in a crossface, but Sky gets out and hits a backbreaker. This was the moment I was like, Io Sky's class. Sky then hits an Asai moonsault to take out both of these baddies at ringside. Goes for a moonsault in the ring, but Perez gets her knees up. Again, Raquel distracts the ref. Asuka and Kairi Sane run down to go after Perez and hold her in place so Sky can hit her. She gets out of it just beforehand, though, and Sky almost hits her friends by mistake. And then Perez shoves Sky into Asuka and Sane and rolls her up holding the tights to get the 1, 2, 3.
I do not want to sound like a point-scoring type of guy, like a loser kind of guy, like a CM Punk, you know? But genuinely, the women embarrassed the men on this show in terms of putting together a professional wrestling match. And the key word is match. It felt like they were having a match. It felt like that sort of turn taken that we saw in the tag team match, where you just eventually, it's so easy to drift off. You know, when you watch it in a normal speed. This felt like a cagey, strategic matchup, at times a struggle in a good way, where Roxanne Perez was delighted with herself for getting out of the great Io Sky's holds, like working her way out of it, like really carefully, just genuinely chuffed, happy with herself for doing it, not knowing that Io Sky, at this point in her career, yards better, just waiting for Roxanne Perez to make a mistake, setting that trap, and then just smacking her flush in the face.
How old do you think Io Sky is?
But ageless.
It's
ageless.
I genuinely, I Googled that then because I was like, I could not even give you a number.
Yeah.
35.
That
We're all in our
scans because, you know, in the Joshi scene, they do start very, very young. So that doesn't surprise me, really. But she's still outstanding. Just the, like, and the worst thing is, and the best thing, is that the fans who genuinely don't seem to get into these sort of cookie cutter matches until the finish, right? This was really smartly put together. This thing that built, there was an attitude in it. There was a sense that both women were totally present in the story that they were telling and not just doing that turn take and stuff. And the fans really came up for this match. They really, really got into it at the time when it must feel like such a, you know, self-defeating exercise when you're bumping and you're like extenuating energy, and then these people just do not care until they get that sort of light switch, right, as a signature and get into it. Now this part matters. They just seemed really dialed into what they were doing. Like, they put a lot of effort into every expression. It just felt like they were so present wrestling each other. Like, they were really happy with every time they got an advantage. Great use of facial expressions throughout. I just got immersed in this. I got truly drawn into what they were doing together, and I'd like to see. This is the sort of TV match that was so smartly put together, so strong. I'm thinking, run this back on PLE. I can't remember the last time I watched a WWE TV match and thought more. Not less, not skip to the end, not get on with it because this is a backdrop to some beatdown or angle or other. I want to see more of this. The chemistry was really good, but the attention to detail here was really strong.
I know they've done a lot of triple threats, especially with women and Io Sky and what have you, but she is kind of the glue that holds it all together. If they want to use this as a catalyst, Joe Watt, to do Naomi versus Io versus Roxanne Perez, I wouldn't be against that.
No.
I want to chuck Stephanie Vacquet after her one-on-one match in Paris into all this as well. Sounds good to me. And I really, really like the direction we seem to be heading in that is teased a little bit later. But before we move on, quick tangent. Yeah? You talking about Io Sky, formerly, of course, Io Shirai, reminded me of a couple of the questions that we had on our SummerSlam quiz on WrestleCulture a couple of weeks ago. WrestleCulture back this week with a hashtag.
Love a game.
So I thought I'd ask you a couple of the questions from that, because we normally play in the office, and I don't think we've had a chance to, because we're always a bit all over the place with Wacky Summer being what it is.
Wacky Summer, and then football quizzes have taken precedent.
Yes, they have. And it is, yeah, and a lot of the time, by the way, it is Hamflet versus Sidge, and just, yeah, with everyone being in and out all the time, we haven't a chance to do this. So, yeah. Question 9 from my SummerSlam quiz on WrestleCulture was, Io Sky used to be Io Shirai, of course. But what does Shirai mean in Japanese? Is it red lightning, blue storm, purple thunder, or pink drizzle?
Well, it's not D. I'm going to go with A.
Red lightning?
Yes.
No, dear, that's wrong.
It's purple thunder.
Ooh. What was question 10 on this quiz?
Well, yeah, I was going to see if there's any...
Because question 10 is always my favourite, and you'll find out why in about 10 seconds.
There's a couple of other good ones in this quiz, actually, before we get to question 10. Question 4. In Karrion Kross's third wrestling match, he was in a 20-man Royal Rumble even, featuring Lance Archer, Brian Cage, and whom? Was it Eager Beaver, Killer Gorilla, Busy Bee, or Dastardly Duck?
Killer Bee.
That wasn't an option. Busy Bee or
Oh,
Killer Gorilla.
all right, sorry. What were the options?
It was Eager Beaver, Killer Gorilla, Busy Bee, or Dastardly Duck.
Killer Gorilla. Yay! That's a good wrestler name, that. No, it's not. It's like the B shops of wrestling names where you think it's hits, and like 2 weeks later, no, it's probably not main eventing WrestleMania now, is it?
But you want to question, which one was it? Question?
Well, rule of 3, that's build up.
Yeah, the hardest question of all, question 10.
Yeah, build up in terms of comedy to 10. Is there another funny one with some funny guesses?
I mean, they're all serious. They're all, it's just a quiz. We're not here for jokes, we're here for facts.
We're not here for games.
Yeah. So question 10 was surrounding the TLC match, which of course featured a multitude of different tag teams, one of which was the Motor City Machine Guns, Chris Sabin, and of course Alex Shelley. Who did Alex Shelley face in just his second ever wrestling match?
I might guess what D is before we get to it, actually, okay?
Okay. Your options are Dick the Bruiser Jr., Killer Cock, Boris Pecker,
Or I'm going to go with...
So you've had Cock, Pecker, and you need another... And Dick, obviously.
I'm going to go with Davey Dick. No, we've had Dick.
You've had Dick. So you had
So
Cock, Pecker, and Dick.
Because Cock and Dick are the two funniest. Wiener. Shane Shaft.
Oh, it's good, not right. So your options are Dick the Bruiser Jr., Killer Cock.
It's Dick the Bruiser Jr. is the answer.
Hang on.
Yay!
Killer Cock, Boris Pecker, or King Dong.
King Dong, of course.
More of that sort of thing on Friday.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for that one. Following this, Jackie Redmond interviews Jey Uso and surprisingly doesn't ask him what his favourite cereal is, but I suppose that question's been kind of put to bed on social media.
Yeah, we've clarified it once and for all, definitively.
And he explains why he didn't help his family last week, basically. He said it hurt him to miss Raw last week and see what happened to Roman Reigns. He had family business to take care of, but he put Rollins and the Bronze on notice. LA Knight comes in and sort of implies, rather convenient weren't there to make the save. I'm not saying that. Other people are, though. But he says, look, the line starts behind me with regards to the world title. And Jey offers to put him at the back line, welcomes into Monday Night Raw, and gives him a full heat to set up what is to come.
Cool.
Then following this, we get a very upset Io Sky confronting Asuka and Zayn in the background. Kairi's trying to calm them down. Sky blames Asuka for the loss. Asuka shoves Sky and walks off. Sky's shocked. Zayn looks absolutely devastated with all this, but leaves with Asuka. I'm going to factor in what also came later here, by the way, because I want to talk about it. So later on, Io Sky runs into Stephanie Vaquet in the backstage area, who reminds Io she's not the only one who's been promised a world title match, of course. Rhea Ripley walks in and says, look, I know the Kabuki Warriors are your friends, but can you trust them? And Io's like, I know what you're trying to say. I don't appreciate it. Stay out of my business. Is what I think is happening.
Sorry, I drifted off. What just happened?
So they've teased problems between, well, specifically Asuka and Io.
Do that match,
but then also do Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Io and who could possibly be a tag partner for Io Sky, who's been, with her in quite a few matches, and they developed this sort of begrudging respect for one another, and they're good friends. It's time for Rio to happen.
It is time for Rio to happen. That match should be tits.
The name is Rio, and that's a song for Wrestle Culture. I'll sit on that.
Sit on that and workshop the old lyrics. Here's the thing.
Gonna kick your ass.
Before Rio happens, Rhea Ripley is going to look upon Io Sky with a sense of sadness, one might say, because Io Sky, given the events of this episode, may no longer be friendly.
No, absolutely. I mean,
with Asuka and Kairi saying, therefore, Rhea Ripley might say something like,
well, yeah, she'd probably, if she was trying to explain to Io what the situation is now, because obviously Asuka's left and Kairi Sane has seemingly gone with her and isolated Io Sky, and they haven't got to the point of a sort of amicable friendship between Rhea and Io.
So she's in between space.
Exactly.
Now. So right now,
in terms of what she'd say, Rhea would turn to Io What? Rhea would turn. What? Rhea would turn to Io and say, "You got no mates." Every time, I love it so much. God, it is funny. Then we got the women's IC title match. Very nearly got this against Natalya. May you still get it against Natalya, let's be honest. But after what happened post-match, actually, before I forget, with what happened post-match, Becky Lynch.
Hey. You all right?
It was Becky Lynch versus Maxine Dupri, with Natalya and Akira Tozawa there at ringside.
This was significantly less embarrassing than I forecasted.
Early on, Becky Lynch, I think she offered her a headlock at one point, didn't she? But she mocks Maxine, telling her, you can't. Come on, what are we doing here? Get out of my ring. And Maxine goes to leave, but it's all a ruse so she can catch Becky Lynch with an arm drag. But Lynch soon takes back over, talks smack to Natty while she beats up and berates Dupri. She hits a running forearm, 3 consecutive Bexploders. But suddenly, I spot this, she goes to the manhandle slam and... Oh my God. It's countered into a stunner by Maxine Dupri, who takes back over. Lynch charges at her. Maxine moves, and Maxine catches Becky Lynch's kick, puts on an ankle lock. Becky Lynch has to desperately fight out of it. Maxine Dupri cartwheels out of the counter to the ankle lock. She boots Lynch in the corner, hits a flying crossbody for 2. Tries to do the sharpshooter, but come on, Natalya's trained you. She can't do it. Becky Lynch fights it off, runs into a spin kick. There's a roll-up in there. Gets countered by Becky, who grabs onto the ropes but gets caught. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Becky locks on the disarmer, and Maxine Dupri has no choice but to tap out. And then Becky Lynch boots Natalya as she checks on Maxine post-match.
Again, significantly less cringeworthy than I thought it was going to be. Mercifully, there was no massive, over-ambitious swing of a fire-up spot from Maxine Dupri. The fairest way to put it is that Becky Lynch proved why she is as good as she is, and Maxine Dupri played her part in the structure of the match. Like, there was a point where I was like marveling at Becky Lynch's in-ring ability because Maxine Dupri is not very good at all. And this is really quite passable. Yeah. Where Becky was just basically, I don't want to say frantically because that would suggest that she was like sort of struggling, but just feeding Maxine Dupri her feet to the point where it looked like Maxine Dupri had tricked Becky into taking an ankle lock. It was just like Becky almost wrestling herself to a degree, but in a way that you had to really, I'm analyzing this for a living, but I had to really pay attention. And it, on the surface of it, it might have looked like Maxine Dupri just looked cannier than she is in the ring. In fact, Becky Lynch is just really good at what she does.
Yeah, agree. Pleasant surprise, this, like you say. Went in with...
I was expecting to be feeling very, very icked out.
Speaking of which, we'll be previewing Cope versus Stoke on the Dynamite preview tomorrow.
The gauntlet's been thrown here.
Yes, indeed. Right, we head to the Visions locker room following this, and in walks Seth Rollins. Says, what an incredible week it's been. We're on top of the world. I came to this dumpy town expected to deal with a CM Punk problem, but turns out he's got an LA Knight problem, and LA Knight's got a CM Punk problem. And thanks to the Oracle, they've both got a Bron problem. So, see ya. I'm off. Tonight's all about the 2 Bronnies. Stack some bodies. I'm leaving Quebec City. And he tells the Oracle he'll see him on the jet or see him next week or whatever. So, it's the last we'll see of Seth on this show.
Mm-hmm. That's how this works.
Someone was asking us yesterday on the Q&A, when was the last time you got worked? Right there. I thought, well, last we'll see Seth on this show.
You get worked every week. That's why I think this nonsense is worthwhile.
Hey, NXT tonight. I did really like this video on Bayley. Really enjoyed this. Very sort of retrospective on what she's been doing recently. She says she's been doing it a long time, wanted more, but felt less, feels nothing now. Talks about being called a role model before she even called herself one. She wanted to be that person that people looked up to. Now she's here, though, by herself, and everything that's led up to now has gotten her nowhere. She couldn't remember the last time she felt proud of herself. It's her own fault. And then there's just a moment. Bayley's hearing voices, and those voices are cackling like the heel version of Bayley, and I think I detected a tiny ding-dong in there as well. The tease of a heel turn has begun.
Yeah, don't remember that time she was doing the laughing gimmick in the Thunderdome and her cackling face filled every screen.
I do remember that one.
It was one of the worst things I might have ever seen.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Stop me.
Don't. It's good press. Oh my God!
Because I just remember that thing where someone was like
in the comments.
Yeah, the pandemic was terrible, obviously, and then we started to get back to some sense of normality. I stumbled across an old podcast that was like set, not of ours, just of a comedy podcast that was taking place in the Pando, and I was like, what a weird time, and what a weird thing that we're just kind of back to. Oh, it's fine, whatever. What a weird time capsule that is. But yeah, we finally get back to limited fans with safe distancing and all the right things in place there. And people are like, missed the time when Bailey took over the Thunderdome Greens, really. That was probably best. That was when wrestling peaked, really, wasn't it?
When WWE uploads like segment by segment highlights on YouTube, I had to watch it for work or something, this Bailey one. So the context is Bailey. You will see my face laughing. And she does awful
Bianca,
laughing. Something like I think so. And then they do this thing where Bailey's laughing face like replicates on every mini screen of that old Thunderdome setup. Someone in the comments section at the time wrote, I am dreading fans coming back to WWE shows because they won't be able to do things like this. It's like, I thought it was bad. I can't remember the website, but there was an article that I remember reading a few years ago now where it was like, it was basically, this wasn't the title of the article, but it was basically, we asked fans who prefer new Simpsons to old, what's wrong with them? But that was the general gist. I think the title was, why do you like it? And got some really, like, it's impossible to like season, 26, which I've probably never seen because I'm too scared, because why would it ever be good? That's dismal. Like, why do you prefer this to like the classic era? And people are like, animation's cleaner. It's like, I thought like if they're on new Simpsons shooters, I thought that was the weirdest take ever. And I work with Hamflip. So, you know, I'm pretty...
It's like saying...
I'm familiar with a weird take.
It's like saying, the Big Bang Theory is better than Monty Python because it's in HD.
Yeah, it's bananas. But this might take the cake here. Like, what's your favorite era of wrestling? Well, is it, New Japan's 2010s resurgence? Is it, that early to mid-90s Four Pillars in All Japan? 89 WC Dub, that was good stuff, wasn't it? Pandemic Fed, probably. What?
There's a lot of worse things that happened in the pandemic, but I cannot watch any compilation that features goals from the pandemic. I hate it.
Pandemic football, the only thing I like is when you can hear the footballers trash talk. It's like they're vicious to each other, like the teammates. Like, you know how it goes. Like, obviously when you score a goal, you're great. But there was one where I was like, I think it was Harry Maguire and Marcus Rashford. Like, Harry Maguire was going, "You f***ing stupid, you're offside all the f***ing time." And Rashford's like, "F*** off."
I haven't seen this. I need to find it.
And as well, there was another thing involving Man United during the pandemic, again, when you can hear them chat on the pitch. And you just think they're all just kids at the end of the day, overgrown kids who had fame too early and just want to be known to be good. And there's one where they score a goal, and, like, to be fair, it is a really good assist, where the ball, I think it comes across Bruno Fernandes, and he just sticks his leg out at the last second to wrong foot the defender, and then someone else taps it in. But it's like almost imperceptible. So whoever's doing the cross probably doesn't realize that Bruno Fernandes, who I think it is in this clip, it's actually made that all-important touch to get the defender to not block it, and then it's allowing somebody else. And they're running over, celebrating. Do you see my assist? That's what I would do. That's what my son would do.
I have a question. Because I can't remember what... there was a Chesterfield goal at the weekend. Hard to count which one. Oh, yeah, back one.
You're joking. Not another one?
And basically, it was one of those where, like, they knock it past the goalkeeper or chip it over the goalkeeper, and it's going in. The defender might get there, but no likelihood it's going in. But another player runs in and is just like, I'm just going to make sure and put this in. You know, and like people nick other people's goals. If you have a goal bonus in your contract, is it kind of a nice gesture to be like, I know that's going to be given to me, but I mean, it was 99% your goal, so here's, I don't know, 50 quid or something. Or is it, do they make so much money, footballers, that it's genuinely just annoying that I haven't got it for my stats?
That's a good question. I loathe to bring up the rat Alexander Isak right now, okay?
By the way, I literally stood behind someone in Tesco the other day who had an Isak shirt on, and I was like, oh, no.
No. It's funny. I ordered this some legitimate outlet, of course. And I think it was pretty much just, you had the option at no additional cost of getting a name and number on the back. First of all, it's weird being a football fan because it's one of those where if you think too deeply about it, you're like, oh, I shouldn't really. They're just a bunch of mercenaries, and they're all ultimately the food chain is they would all go to Real Madrid. So how much do they care? And you start to think, it's like, Christ, I'm 39 years old. I'm older than the entire squad other than maybe John Ruddy. Like these young athletes, and I'm 39. I'm not burying people who put the names on the back. I mean, I idolize and love some of these people who don't know who I am. So it's just one of those.
Definitely had a JJ Okocha shirt at some point.
Yeah, but you were like, you're just a kid.
Yeah.
39, should I be doing that at this age? I don't blame you if you do or whatever. But there was the options, and I'm looking, and I'm thinking in terms of, he could go. There's a lot of talk around that player, a lot of talk about that player. So I was like, you know what? I'm not tempting fate. I'll just have a plane on the back. It's the kids I feel sorry for. Like, it's one thing. Kids are going to have to get used to, unless you support Real Madrid, right? Kids at some point are going to have to get you. Everyone remembers the first person who got sold for your football team, and you think you're heartbroken. Andy Cole for me. There's a bigger team than us. Why would you want to leave? Andy Cole was the one for me. So kids have to get used to it at some point. Like a player can't stay at a team forever just because some little 11-year-old puke just wants them to. It's not how it works. But there's a manner in which you should leave.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not looking good, is it? I always think about who.
Sorry.
Other way, yeah. I think 7. Yeah, there.
Sorry.
Soccer tangent. I always feel sorry for whoever has to create the calendars for the football clubs, because it's hard enough doing it for an entire season. Imagine doing that in January and being like, who's probably going to be here in December?
Yeah.
Who's like a young player who's not going to play well? Like, so that's what is in the Metro Centre the other day, and there was a video promoting maybe the 3rd kit or something. It was like Joelinton. I was like, yep, that makes complete sense. You're going, no one's coming in for Joelinton. He's a great player. No one's going to try and buy him, though, and he's a good lad, and he's going to stick with Newcastle. Jacob Murphy was another one.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere, really. He's just like, he supports them, and he's in the form of his life.
It's like
overperforming.
Off the back of, like, the cup win. We've got Alexander Isak. We'll just shoot him separately, just in case.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Rat.
Jackie Redmond, off the back of this Bailey video, is there with Lyra Valkyria, who's reacting to how devastated Bailey is. How do you feel to see her in that state of mind, says Jackie. Lyra says, I hope she's okay. I didn't know she was this alone, but she shut me out. I had no idea this was going on. But I stand by everything I said last week. She's the reason I can I like this in terms of her standing up for herself. She's the reason I can no longer challenge for this title. Look, we need to go our separate ways. That's not my fault.
If you live.
Bailey needs to figure that out on her own.
Yeah. It's weird because Bailey's kind of turning heel here, or that's the tease direction. Could be a misdirect, a red herring, or whatever. So the idea is that they are building a match between heel Bailey and babyface Lyra Valkyria. But Lyra Valkyria just looked like an insensitive dickhead washing her hands of stuff. I don't know. I just think it's a storyline where I don't like either character.
But they could do a spot where, Ding Dong Hello had the door that people would enter. What if it also has a window and you get the bird smashed through the window?
That happened in the office. Were you here?
Yes.
Yeah.
The pigeon.
Yeah. Stupid idiot.
It was a windy day. We were like, fair play to that pigeon. He's just sort of holding his ground, sitting on a branch and just sort of letting the wind do its thing when it was really windy the other day. 2 minutes later, Clunk. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm surprised more birds don't do it more often.
Yeah.
How are they meant to know of glass?
Indeed. You know what you should do if a bird craps on your windshield?
What's that?
Don't take her on a date again.
Good one, Alistair.
Main event time. It is the
What a waste of time, more like.
the unlikely duo of CM Punk and LA versus the two Bronnies. The heels jump them before the bell because they can't decide who's starting the match. Knight fights back, though, against Breaker, brings in Punk. Nice spot, this. Clotheslines Breaker over the
I
top
like
rope.
this.
Ducks a clothesline from Reed. Short clothesline against the ropes. Can't get it done. LA, come in and help me. And they team up to both clothesline Bronson Reed over the top rope to take us to a break. But the two Bronnies use a distraction to take over during the break. Punk's isolated, but he manages to bring in LA Knight with a return. There's a jumping neck breaker from LA Knight to Reed. Goes to the BFT, that gets blocked, but he hits a reverse DDT. But he gets sent to the outside, and Breaker hits that terrifying clothesline over the announcer's table to go to another break. This time, when we come back, Knight's in trouble.
Double heat. Great.
But it looks like he's going to make the hot tag. But instead of being yanked off the apron, Punk sees Breaker coming and yells at him. So LA Knight's like, where are you? So Reed hits LA Knight with a backsplash for 2, knocks Punk off the apron again. They hit a Steiner Bulldog. Punk has to make the save. Knight fires up, brings in Punk. He fires off some shots, barks a bit, and hits a suplex on Bron Breaker. Reed's about to go after Punk, but Knight cuts him off with a baseball slide. Punk hits that flying elbow drop. The crowd are really getting into this now, and he calls for the GTS, but he's jumped by Seth Rollins for the DQ, and they beat down LA Knight and CM Punk until you hear Jey Uso's music. He comes out with a chair in hand, takes out Breaker in the aisle. Rollins bails. Reed swats the chair away, but Jey fights him off and knocks him out of the ring with the chair and stands tall with CM Punk and LA Knight. The Vision are there on the ramp, and out comes Raw GM Adam Pearce, who says, Seth, it'd be easy for me to come out here and be angry at you. You're a liar, you're a master manipulator, you disrupt main events, and now you and your buddies are trying to injure your fellow superstars. But I'm not going to be angry. Instead, I'm going to see this as an opportunity for me, an opportunity for you, but also an opportunity at the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth freaking Rollins, you just earned a freaking opportunity to defend the World Heavyweight Championship at Clash in Paris. I did like Seth's reaction here, because he said, against main event Jey Uso, and Seth for a split second was like, I can handle that. That seems fine. But no, it's made into a fatal four-way. It's Jey Uso, LA Knight, and CM Punk. And yes, Adam Pearce confirms it is official. Another great CM Punk meme here. He shakes the ropes like he's Ultimate Warrior. But then he gets into it with LA Knight, who are kind of shoving each other. Punk tackles LA Knight down. They brawl. Jey tries to get Knight away, and he throws a back elbow into Jey. Punk gets Knight up for the GTS, but gets speared by Bron Breaker as the Vision come in to beat up the babyfaces. Breaker does the bit where he runs around the ring and spears LA Knight. Reed gives Jey a Death Valley driver and a tsunami. Rollins stomps Knight in the ring, stomps Jey, and then they hold and taunt CM Punk until Rollins stomps him as well. And the Vision yet again stand tall to close Raw.
Well, every week's the same, it seems. I tell you what. I like the Punk Knight direction. Hopefully they have a singles with some proper interview time build up for that. The fact that they're doing Fatal 4-Way at Clash in Paris means this holding pattern that I'm chronically bored of is set to continue with this Punk Rollins endless program. So that's boring. Another DQ, boring. I was pretty just bored, frankly, by the last 20 minutes of this show. I did really like that. I've been questioning whether CM Punk still mentally has it. Like, his body's failed him for years, and he ain't ever had a particularly good one. But when he was doing that triple threat match at WrestleMania, that steel cage match against Seth Rollins, like, I thought he is just getting weighed down by slop, signature spam, endless near falls, This match in its own little way, as inconsequential as it was, like, he came up with a good can they coexist spot here with that Bronson Reed stuff, to the point where at first I thought they'd botched it. Then the second one I got it, And it's like, oh, God, I'm going to need this dickhead on it. Good stuff. Like, CM Punk has still got a functioning brain, so that's the good news. Seriously, I thought he's finished on every single level at one point this year. This was a nice little, I still got a brain for this, you know?
But yeah, big.
You lose your brain if you watch and get too into the Fed, you know?
NXT preview coming later on today. But yes, big Clash in Paris developments. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comment section below or on X at WhatCulture WWE. Watch there. You can also send us your wrestler cereal combos, of course. You can follow Michael Sidgwick at
M. Sidgwick.
Follow me at Adam Wilbourn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, as I said. Make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Me and Sidge will be back later on today to preview NXT. But for now, this has been the Raw review. My thanks to Michael Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.